A lovely good afternoon to you all. Welcome to the first nationwide bulletin for the year 2020. Happy New Year from all of us at NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani with the news. We begin with a message of good tidings. President Muhammadu Buhari has described the year 2020 as Nigeria's decade with a great prospect of a prosperous, economically viable and well-secured country. In his New Year message, President Buhari again restated that he will be standing down in 2023 and will not be available in any future elections. He assured Nigerians that the new year provides the opportunity to build on the foundations laid so far for a stable, sustainable and more prosperous future. Ruth Agwele reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari took a long look back to 2015 when he was elected the president of the country, expressing his determination to help strengthen the electoral process both in Nigeria and across the region, where several ECOWAS members go to the polls this year. The president believes Nigeria needs a democratic government that can guarantee peace and security in order to realize the full potential of its ingenious, entrepreneurial and hard-working people. This is why he recalled the multi-pronged approach to fighting violent extremists, cultists and organized criminal networks. President Buhari admitted that it has not been easy, but remained hopeful of victory in the fight against terrorism that will pave the way for peace, reconstruction of lives, communities and markets. The Northeast Development Commission, working with local and international stakeholders, has been rightly positioned to help create a new beginning for the Northeast, he said. The federal government, he explained, will continue to work with state governors, neighboring states and international partners to tackle the root causes of violent extremism and the networks that help finance and organize terror. President Buhari assured that the security forces will receive the best of training and modern weaponry in order to position them properly, to use emerging technological resources available to tackle kidnapping, banditry and armed robbery. With the new Ministry of Police Affairs and the security reforms being introduced, the president assured Nigerians that government actions at all times will be governed by the rule of law. On the economic front, President Buhari explained that various government policies are designed to promote genuine, balanced growth that delivers jobs and rewards industry, while the new Economic Advisory Council has brought together respected and independent thinkers to advise on a strategy that champions inclusive and balanced growth and, above all, fights poverty and safeguards national economic interests. The president expressed his excitement over the revolution in agriculture, which is already a reality in all corners of the country, noting that many homes are not adorned with imported goods and foods that can be produced locally. He recalled the agreement with Morocco, Russia and other countries that helped in the transformation in the agriculture sector. While wishing Nigerians a prosperous new year, President Buhari said Nigeria will continue to pursue this inclusive growth further enhanced by the signing of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area and the creation of the National Action Committee to oversee its implementation and capitalize on regional and continental markets. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has again explained that the joint land border security exercise currently taking place is meant to safeguard Nigeria's economy and security. In his New Year message, President Buhari said Nigeria realizes that it is the helper and shock absorber of the sub-region, but cannot allow the country's well-planned economic regeneration plans to be sabotaged. Fisayo Ogunfuyi reports.
The president, in a statement tagged Nigeria's decade, sought the understanding of Nigeria's neighbors, assuring them that as soon as Nigeria is satisfied that the safeguards put in place are adequate, normal cross-border movements will be resumed. The president highlighted various key infrastructure investments in place, or ongoing to enhance the ease of doing business in the country, prospects for better Nigeria in 2020. These include key roads such as the Second Niger Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the Abuja-Kano Highway, and the prospect of tangible progress on the Lagos to Kano rail line, as well as fixing strategic roads such as the Apapa-Orunshoki Expressway. Kano and Lagos new international airport terminals are in the pipeline for 2020. In the power sector, government is said has engaged extensively with stakeholders to develop a series of comprehensive solutions to improve the reliability and availability of electricity across the country. These solutions include ensuring fiscal sustainability for the sector, increasing both government and private sector investments in the power transmission and distribution segments, improving payment transparency through the deployment of smart meters, and ensuring regulatory actions maximize service delivery. Government has also placed a new deal with Siemens to invest in the new capacity for generation, transmission, and distribution of power. Apart from this, work on the AKK gas pipeline and OB3 gas pipeline and the expansion of the Escravos Lagos pipeline is expected to commence in the first quarter of 2020. President Buhari restated his commitment to taking 100 million Nigerians out of mass poverty over the next 10 years, promising reforms in education, healthcare, and water sanitation, while workers will have a living wage and pensioners will be looked after. The new Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, he explained, will consolidate and build on the social intervention schemes and will enhance the checks and balances necessary for this set of programs to succeed for the long term. President Muhammadu Buhari projects the year 2020 as the Nigerian decade of prosperity, promising Nigerians to expect the following projects in the year. 47 road projects scheduled for completion in 2020-2021 include roads leading to ports, major bridges including substantial work on the Second Niger Bridge, completion of 13 housing estates under the National Housing Project Plan, Lagos, Kano, Maiduguri, and Enugu international airports to be commissioned in 2020, launching of an agricultural rural mechanization scheme that will cover 700 local governments over a period of 3 years, launching of the livestock development project grazing model in Gombe State, where 200,000 hectares of land has been identified, training of 50,000 workers to complement the country's 7,000 extension workers, commissioning of the Lagos-Ibadan-Itakpe-Warri rail lines in the first quarter, commencement of the Ibadan-Abuja and Kano-Kaduna rail lines also in the first quarter, further liberalization of the power sector to allow businesses to generate and sell power, commencement of the construction of the Mambila Power Project for the first half of 2020, and commencement of the construction of the AKK gas pipeline, OB3 gas pipeline, and the expansion of the Escravos Lagos pipeline in the first quarter of 2020. In Abuja, Fisayo Ogunfuyi, NTA News.
And still on goodwill messages, the President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, has said the year 2020 will usher in peace and robust economic growth for the benefit of all Nigerians. In a New Year message by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ola Awoni, Senator Lawan congratulates Nigerians on witnessing the end of 2019 and the beginning of the year 2020. He hails the resilience of Nigerians in their commitment to the unity and prosperity of the country and support for the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Senator Lawan says he has no doubt that with the timely passage of the budget, restoration of the January to December financial year, and other amendments recently made to our laws by the 9th National Assembly, the economy will enjoy significant growth in the new year. The Senate President assures Nigerians that the National Assembly will continue to do its best to make things better for the people through enactment of people-oriented legislation. Senator Lowen says the National Assembly will endeavor to sustain the harmonious working relationship with other arms of government for the smooth administration of the country and benefit of the people. He wishes every Nigerian at home or abroad a happy and prosperous 2020. The Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, has felicitated with Nigerians for witnessing the end of the year 2019, which he described as remarkable. He says God has been faithful to Nigerians, having peacefully witnessed the historic general elections which heralded the journey to the next level of growth and progress. The new year 2020, Gbajabiamila added, would be better for citizens, and this calls for thanksgiving to the Creator. The Speaker says, being an optimist, he believes the country will prosper in all ramifications in the new year and urges Nigerians to be their brothers' keepers by strengthening the resolve to remain together with strong unity of purpose. He calls on all to work collectively against challenges as Nigerians remain unshakable as one. The Speaker solicits for continuous prayers to God Almighty to see Nigeria through 2020 and beyond. Now, the year 2020 is the commencement of a new decade, and with its first day underway, counting down to another 364 days has begun. And as Nigerians join the rest of the world to cross over into the new year, the message of hope for a better nation that her citizens will be proud of forms the crux of sermons by clergies. Olusheye Aderbo, who covered some church engagements, finds out the significance of the crossover night to believers.
Ayobami Olatukun and his family are among early arrivals at this church. And for the father of three, 2019, like every other year, is with its ups and downs, but thanks to God that spares his life to witness a new year.
When we look back and we are still alive, we are just giving thanks to God.
Just like him, Christians are gathered at worship centers, not only to thank God for the gift of life, but also to offer prayers for a marvelous new year 2020.
It's a year of unprecedented exploits. In the name of Jesus.
Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, North Central Zone, Reverend Israel Akonji, and other ministers of God, in their separate sermons say, absolute trust in God with the heart of repentance is key to enjoying greater grace in the year 2020.
As we enter the year, let us know that there is a God in heaven who also is interested in intimate relationship with us.
I want the entire Nigerians not to lose hope, not to lose faith in this unfailing God. He has helped us as a nation. He will carry us through.
I asked Pastor Biodun Fatuimbo the importance of the crossover night.
And the Bible says there are supposed to be signs and seasons for us. Seasons represent new things. Not knowing what to do is what makes people have the same thing year in, year out. A wise man said you never recover from a good start.
Gospel artist Tope Alabi also led the congregation at the Commonwealth of Zion, Koza, with special rendition to appreciate God. Prayers of peace and stability for Nigeria also featured at the crossover night services covered. In Abuja, Olusheye Aderbo, NTA News.
As the nation enters another new year, the Christian Association of Nigeria has charged all Nigerians, especially Christian faithful, to remain steadfast in their faith, confidence and hope, because God is deeply concerned about Nigeria and his plans and purpose will be fulfilled in our nation against all odds. This was contained in the goodwill message of CAN President Reverend Samson Ayokunle, as signed by his special assistant on media and communications, Pastor Adebayo Oladeji, in Abuja. His Eminence Ayokunle adds that as a nation, Nigeria has had challenges of insecurity and its attendant consequences, but with the help of God Almighty, these are being tackled by the federal government. The Reverend urges Nigerians to rejoice in hope and in expectations of divine help and intervention, while discouraging those who engage in all forms of criminality to repent and return to God, who is ready to forgive and position them for coming victory and celebration. The Christian Association of Nigeria therefore congratulates every Nigerian on this New Year celebration and wishes all a prosperous, peaceful and glorious year ahead. Meanwhile, the Northern Governors Forum rejoices with Nigerians on the celebration of the New Year 2020, urging for collective resolve to build a Nigeria that is more united, prosperous and equitable. In a message, the forum projects that the year 2020 is full of prospects and opportunities for Nigerians to work for the upliftment of the country by supporting governments at all levels to carry out development initiatives that will strengthen the economy and the people. It enjoins all to be patriotic and be committed to making the desired sacrifices needed to build a nation that is self-sufficient and strong enough to provide opportunities for people to flourish. And as the New Year messages continue, it's time to join Ruth in Lagos for more reports. Compliments of the season, Ruth. How is Lagos today?
Happy New Year, Najatu. Lagos is cool. It was a night of super excitement for Lagos residents as they eagerly await the ushering in of the New Year 2020. Annie Daniels, who visited some churches in the metropolis, reports that clergies reeled out prophetic predictions for the new year.
As has been the tradition, church services characterized the New Year Eve. Worshippers in churches visited were in high spirits with prayers and praises to God to usher in the New Year 2020. Then came the moment everybody has been waiting for.
For God to make us to at least end the 2019 in His presence and ushered us into His presence too. In 2020, we give God all the glory.
The message by clergies on this special day is that of hope for better days ahead.
God truly wants to bless this nation. He's waiting for us to move His hands so that He can bless this nation, and He will do so.
Nigerians, he says, put God first in everything you are doing. Once is the first. It will guide you aright. But if you go by your own wisdom will not take you far. So put God first, be prayerful, practice righteousness, which exalts a nation.
Yeah, 2020, clergy say, will be a year of unbelievable answers to prayers, at least to those who will commit their ways into the hands of God. However, advisor for this to become a reality, dignity and integrity should be their watchwords. At the Lagos countdown, fireworks rent the air to usher in the New Year 2020. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reiterated his administration's commitment in ensuring the safety of lives and property of residents throughout the year 2020, as well as continuous support for all security agencies in the state. The governor made this known while addressing newsmen shortly after the State Security Council meeting at the Lagos State Government House in Alausa, Ikeja. Nosa Osla reports.
Security is the backbone of any society. It is tied to its social, political, economic, and cultural growth. Negligence of this vital ingredient of development has led to all manner of social ills, including violent crimes such as armed robbery, ritual killings, child trafficking, and other crimes. Governor Sanwo-Olu expressed gratitude to the various security agencies which he said have been cooperating with the state government to ensure the protection of lives and property in the states.
There were a lot of positive reviews, and there were a lot of new strategies that we're also embarking on. And like you've observed, as a chief security officer, all my security apparatus are supporting me. We'll continue to make Lagos a safe haven for everybody that wants to remain lawful and peaceful. Lagos will continue to be home to you.
Equally, we review the issue of the traffic in the states, especially those that are contributing to the human-made ones of those driving against traffic, the menace of the Okadas, and very soon now state government policies will be coming up in respect of that.
The State's Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, commended the various security agencies in the state for ensuring low crime rates during the Christmas celebration. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Lagos. Nationwide continues in Abuja with Naja'atu after this break. Stay with us.
They swore an oath to serve our fatherland and defend the people. They traded their freedom, comfortable homes, and mortgaged their lives on the battleground for our unity and peaceful living. These are the great, fearless, loyal, and committed Nigerian armed forces who risked their lives courageously to safeguard our borders. But in the line of duty, many never returned. Nigerians, arise, let's celebrate our fallen heroes. Put on the remembrance emblem with pride to support the incapacitated and families of our fallen heroes.
It is indeed befitting to honor the memory of the gallant hearts of the men who paid the supreme sacrifice to keep the united.
President Muhammadu Buhari enjoins all ministries, parastatals, religious and corporate bodies to donate generously to the Emblem Appeal Launch. Send your donations to these accounts. Account name, Emblem Appeal Launch. Account number 393-200-7526. EcoBank Nigeria PLC.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down.
Do you have a job where you're going to? No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Aliko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad, or even end up in prison.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
We have come to the end of another successful year, and we wish to appreciate all those that mean so much to us: our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, and above all, you, our esteemed viewer. Together, we made 2019 great. Together, we shall make 2020 even greater. That is why we say, thank you. This is wishing you Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
It's nice to know that you're still watching NTA Nationwide. Nigerians have been evaluating the content of President Muhammadu Buhari's New Year message, among other things. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria specifically described the president's stand down on future elections, beginning with the 2023 general elections in the country, as commendable. Butuamila monitored the program and now reports.
Discussion around the country that some kind of suspicion that we will term in agenda and so on. He's debunked that. That is a very happy thing, putting the nation in a very good mood and the beginning of a decade. So that is actually an act of statesmanship.
One of the guests on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Osawaru Okunzuwa, commenting on President Buhari's 2023 election stand-down. Other guests shared similar perspective on the issue.
It's an important message, especially at a time when internet gossip will not allow the president to rest, repeatedly speculating of a third term or a dilution of democracy.
We remember very clearly that not too long ago in our democratic history in this Fourth Republic, there was a lot of controversy regarding a third-term agenda. So it's a really, really good thing that the president has come out once again to say that he will not be running for office again in 2023. It's very important. It is the integrity of our constitution that has been protected.
Another issue that generated discussion was President Buhari's message on safeguarding the economy in 2020. In this regard, the guest gave credit to the present administration for initiating ongoing land border drills.
This border closure has shown that we can still run a robust international trade transaction, with our neighbors in West Africa. So a creative approach to sustaining, securing the border would actually be borders, truly.
If you've ever gone to any of our French-speaking neighbors, they don't eat parboiled rice at all. So every parboiled rice they're importing is for Nigeria market. And the whole safeguard we're talking about is about quality and standard.
The guests also stressed on effective involvement of other key players, especially state and local governments, in driving the president's 2020 policy projections. In Abuja, Butuamila, NTA News.
And messages of hope and optimism in all human endeavors take center stage in exhortations at church services by religious leaders as communities in Nasarawa State celebrate the new year. Ben Mitu reports.
Various denominations in Lafia held church services to mark the new year as worshippers expressed joy for the crossover to 2020.
We came out today with joy, so that peace should speak in our life, should speak in our transaction, should speak in everything of our daily routine.
Leaders and the led, all will put heads together to see that we'll get it right so that things will be better for us in 2020.
Everyone has to get closer to God, have a more cordial relationship with God, and work with God the more.
While describing the year 2020 as a year of prosperity and peace, they urge Nigerians, irrespective of abroad, ethnic and religious backgrounds, to unite and support the policies and programs of government to move the country forward. They call for sustained efforts towards alleviating poverty, commending government for its developmental programs. Meanwhile, Governor Abdullah Hisuli, in the spirit of the season, says peaceful and harmonious coexistence among the people is important for the development of the state. In Lafia, Ben Mitu, NTA News.
Similarly, in neighboring Makurdi, Benue State, religious leaders have urged Nigerians to shun acts of divisiveness and work for the unity of the country. This was during the special church services held across the state to celebrate the new year. Hussein Muhammad Isa reports.
The chapter for the year 2019 closed when the clock struck at 12 midnight today, heralding the commencement of the new year 2020. Nigerians have every reason to celebrate. In their New Year messages, Right Reverend Nathan Inyom and Right Reverend Joshua Yusuf Mbede called for concerted effort to address the lingering challenges in the country.
I took the two national anthems, Nigeria, we heard it, Arise, O Compatriot. The wordings are very heavy. Unfortunately, are we following it?
All of us will look at ourselves as brothers and sisters in the country. It's not good for us to part away. Anything that would tend to divide us, we will go against that thing. Nigeria will ever remain one until Christ comes.
Other pastors advise Nigerians to respect constituted authorities.
Generally, as Christians, is for us to be committed to the things of God.
The New Year services were conducted peacefully in Makudi with special prayers for Nigeria to continue to remain as one indivisible entity.
No doubt indeed that Nigerians are happy that the country survived the challenges of 2019 and are hopeful that the year 2020 will be a prosperous one. In Makudi, I am Hussein Mohammed Isa, NTA News.
Thank you, Husseini. And from Makudi, we head to Jos, where Caleb is standing by for more reports on Nationwide. Happy New Year, Caleb.
Happy New Year, Naja, and thank you for joining us in Jos. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the new year, the call for a united country despite the nation's diversities is the central theme of messages during the New Year church services in Jos. Ijoma Ozomina reports.
The mood this new year is one of excitement and gratitude for the privilege of crossing over into the year 2020. The message is focused on the need for religious tolerance and peaceful coexistence as panacea for the development of the country. They also commended the federal government for steering the affairs of the nation this far.
All we need to do is to sit together and look back and say thank you to God, and then unite and hold to one another as one people in this country.
My call to Nigeria in the year 2020 is that Nigeria should fear God the more. Nigeria should love God the more. Nigeria should serve God the more. We have a glorious hope for us in this year.
People should respond in faith, put their faith in Christ Jesus, the King and the Prince of Peace, and live out peace in the way they live with each other, with their neighbors, that all of us in Nigeria and in the world would see ourselves as God's children and respect each other and respect our Constitution.
They were hopeful that the new year will be a positive turning point for the country in all ramifications. In Jos, Ijoma Ozemina, NTA News.
With the new year 2020 now running like every new year, people make resolutions about their personal life. Saadatu Muhammad Kafa is in town to find out resolutions people are making in the new year. So, Saadatu, over to you.
The awaited year 2020 has finally arrived, and people in their usual manner make New Year resolutions. A new page has just been opened, and some Nigerians believe it is one thing to make resolutions, but fulfilling it is another heinous task.
It's only with the grace of God that you keep a resolution and keep to it, stick to it. When you are alive, your resolution still alive. But when you are not alive, you have nothing to keep as a resolution.
My New Year resolution will be to be more committed in the service of my country, Nigeria.
Yeah, there are three things I plan to do. First is to finish up my PMP certification, which I couldn't finish last year. Second is to read my Bible back to back this year. And finally, I've set my investment targets, how much I want to make.
The New Year resolution is to be closer to God and be more dedicated in my work.
People say the preceding year has been awesome, while others share different views.
2019 was quite amazing. It was a wonderful year for me, and I think it was also a year that I anticipated a lot, and then
Fortunately for me, I got promoted in my job.
Year 2019 was very challenging. It was very challenging indeed. In all spheres of human life, to me, it was very challenging.
The year 2020 may have just begun, but for the future it holds for individuals and the country is something everyone is hoping to witness. But as the saying goes, make hay while the sun shines. Happy New Year, and back to the studio.
With attitude. Residents and motorists in Jos are still basking in the euphoria of fuel supply in the state during the Yuletide. They say they have no better way to express their excitement over the availability of fuel in sufficient quantity during the Yuletide than to commend the federal government for the fiat. Felicia Daliop Samaila went round to the city of Jos to feel the pulse of the people.
Jos, the Plateau state capital, driving within and outside the city has been stress-free for motorists during the Yuletide.
The Yuletide is often characterized by scarcity of fuel. Surprisingly, there are no queues at the filling stations this year. So, we sought from motorists how they feel about these developments.
For the fact that there is no queue in the filling station, the government have done some things which it's worth commending.
This time around, there's nothing like lack of fuel. We have fuel available in every filling station.
There's not been any hike. There's been free flow of the products. And although we're having issues regarding transport fares, some of the transporters decided on their own to increase fares without any increase in pump price.
On measures and factors put in place to avert the scarcity and ensure availability of the products, the Department of Petroleum Resources, Jos Field Office, has this to say.
In the depot in Jos, we have over 26 million liters of product. So the equation of scarcity is ruled out completely.
As the year 2019 peters out, the availability of petroleum products remain a cheering situation to motorists and passengers alike, with the hope of no increase in transportation fare. In Jos, Felicia Daliop Samaila, NTA News.
That's our New Year package from Jos. Now, Najatu, is back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. So many interesting reports from Jos there. Now, our next set of reports will focus on reviews in various sectors, beginning with, you guessed it, labor. Many issues generated a lot of controversies in the labor circle in 2019, but almost all seems to have been brought to rest at the end of the year. The biggest certainly was the agreement and payment of the new minimum wage and the accruing arrears to federal civil servants. Labor correspondent Emmanuel Ayimiru reviews the labor sector in 2019.
2019 began with the Ministry of Labour and Employment under pressure from the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, over the 2009 agreement and shortfalls in salaries due to non-participation in the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS. An agreement was reached and some payment made to prevent industrial unrest, while the issue of the IPPIS remained unresolved.
There is an agreement for government to make some fund available.
When a sum of 20 billion is mentioned, you have to view it against the backdrop of what the total sum is about.
The non-academic universities teaching staff also came up with similar complaints on earned allowances and the 2009 Memorandum of Understanding, a challenge yet to be fully resolved.
The understanding that was reached gave a 5-week period for implementation of payment of a fraction of the arrears owned on earned allowances to our members.
With issues raised by unions in the health, aviation, banking, power, and other sectors, industrial relations through continuous engagement of labor through social dialogue prevailed in 2019. But what was of paramount interest to workers was the signing of the new national minimum wage of 30,000 naira into law. by President Muhammadu Buhari after marathon meetings to prevent industrial unrest.
Increase in the lowest paid person at 30,000 naira for grade level 1, step 1. That the grade level 07 officers should move up by 23.2%.
It was a collective process.
I received mine on the 30th of December, the 8-month arrears.
Government has proven itself of its integrity.
Nigeria became the first African country to host the International Labour Organization Global Youth Employment Forum on Decent Work, with the Director General of ILO visiting Nigeria for the second time in 60 years.
Failure to provide a space in our societies, in our world of work for young people, would constitute and does constitute a challenge to the very welfare, sustainability and stability of all of our countries.
Ahead of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFTA, General Assembly of ECOWAS also held Decent Work Regional Program in Abuja.
It will also foster the achievement of the goal of human-centered approach to the future of work.
The labor sector in 2020 is expected to be relatively quiet, but for the impasse between ASU and the federal government over enrollment into the IPPIS. Emmanuel Ayemi-Rowe, NTA News.
Similarly, the year 2019, many say, has been quite significant for the Ministry of Communications. Oh, and digital economy. The ministry has had a series of events that have relatively changed the statistics in the value chain, positioning the sector as a front runner. Joseph Johnson has details of some of the defining activities of the ministry.
Nigeria has in recent times been harnessing other alternative means of income other than oil, and ICT seems to be peaking at the right time in Nigeria as it is gaining the most attention globally. The sector in Nigeria received with satisfaction the appointment of Ali Issa Pantami as the Minister of Communications, and within a few weeks the ministry's name changed to Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to further expand its mandate to capture the goals of digitization of the Nigerian economy. What's in a name, you might say? But for the ministry, the new nomenclature changed the game for good, because visible indications have shown that while the oil sector contributed 8.82% to the GDP in the second quarter of the year, the contribution of ICT to the country's gross domestic product stood at 13.85% in the second quarter of 2019.
Into emerging technologies. Let us come up with disruptive and crazy ideas that we will come back and build applications that will completely disrupt the way we live in Nigeria. That is what we are planning.
Targets and radical approach to solving hitherto difficult problems were introduced. Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) blocked estimated 2.2 million improperly registered SIM cards in September. Telecommunications operators were directed to review the cost of data downwards and desist from illegal service deductions, measures that were received with fanfare by the citizens across board. To feel the pulse of this development, I meet Mariam Kafinga, who tells me how she was a victim of engaging in a transaction with an improperly registered SIM card owner. She is, however, happy things are changing positively in the sector.
When I tried to get back to the resender, I couldn't. And before I realized it, I lost some money. I don't know how that was done. But when I tried tracing the number, I couldn't because it was not registered. Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, they are really doing a good job. I'm really proud. I'm happy with the initiative, and I hope they keep it up to ensure that this initiative goes on a very, very long way.
But that is not the only initiative Nigerians are enthused about from the new thinking in the sector. E-Government Master Plan, which was launched at the E-Nigeria Conference, and the 5G trial demonstrated in the country are all being eagerly awaited.
But they have tried, but I want them in 2020 to put effort
so that this network expecting will not be disturbing us, will not be holding. When you are buying data, sometimes there will not be network.
The duration of my call card, to me personally, has not improved so far. So since they say they are trying to see how they can reduce data costs, I would like for them to do more in 2020.
While Nigerians like Mariam look forward to 2020 with more expectations from the sector, implementation of the ICT master plan and synergy amongst stakeholders, experts say, are the keys to unlocking higher levels of technological development. Joseph Johnson, NTA News.
And now to another sector, the mines and steel sector, aspiring to take second position in the revenue generation chart of Nigeria. But what are some of the bold steps taken in 2019 to realize this? Mia Ogidi tells us.
If any story must be told about the Mines and Steel Ministry for the year 2019, it has to be the story of the Ajakuta Steel Company for returning to our first love, that is Russia, during the Russia-Africa Summit.
Mr. President discussed with President Putin on Ajakuta Steel.
And Russia is willing to come in, and of course Ajakuta will work before Mr. President completes this second term.
Though young and studying the documents of a complicated sector, Olamileko and Ogechuku Oga held a series of consultations with investors and regional meetings, best described as meeting of minds, to liberalize the operations in the sector, but with two major goals in mind. One, to contribute 40% in the federal government's target of providing 100 million jobs. And secondly,
we contribute less than 1% now, about 0.05. We want to be able to contribute about 5% of the GDP to Nigeria from mining and steel.
This sound is what excites many because it's a sound of revival and hope. Now, investors' confidence is growing in double digits. $600 million investment in steel production, largest non-oil sector investment, is to the credit of the federal government's policy in the ease of doing business.
It complements Nigeria's desire to be self-sustaining and become an independent steel producer, not dependent on imports.
The under-declaration of mining products in various states and other unwholesome activities of operators affect the revenue drive of the solid minerals.
The operation is under the yoke of ambiguity in our legal system, which puts the ownership of land surface in the purview of state governments and the minerals under it in the control of federal authorities. This delay has resulted into multiple control and taxation on the mining industry and its operators.
With this foundation properly laid in the year 2019 by the new leaders in the helm of affairs in the ministry, expectations are new year means new innovations, new revenue channels, and more transparency in transactions in the sector. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
Let's take another break now. More reports when we return.
My name's Mr. Muftau Abiodun Balogun. We started this business 4 years ago, and this is the production outlet where we do about 4,000 to 5,000 birds per day. With the closure of the border recently, we've been experiencing massive surge in demand. Our sales per day now is going to be between 15 to 20,000 birds. We needed to expand all avenues because of the multiplier effect it's creating. And the most interesting thing about this closure is that many of my farmers today are farmers we recruited recently, and they are young graduates. What the government is doing will lead us right. And I can tell you, if the government sustains this thing, sky will not even be our limit.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, Is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA. Get the latest news and updates from across Nigeria on NTA Nationwide. NTA Nationwide, weekdays by 4 p.m. Get it first, get it fresh.
Thanks for staying with NTA Nationwide. Now, I know you must have heard somewhere that hard work pays. But what does it feel like when recognition comes unexpectedly after decades of meritorious service to humanity? The latest recognition has to do with 13 traffic control officers who were honored for their selfless service. Oluseyi Adiabo reports that some of the award recipients also secured scholarships for their children.
Antonia Chiwendu is resuming for duty, ready to start the control of traffic at her current post. For 25 years now, she has been serving the Nigerian police force, and ensuring orderliness on the roads is a job this mother of three does with passion. The inspector's command of the traffic is smooth and confident, who says the road users are not feeling the impacts of the services of officers in charge of controlling traffic. Though these traffic wardens might not be aware that the public is watching, the presentation of these hampers to each of them by a spirited individual, Israeli Belema, founder Israeli Belema Foundation, is providing answers to that. 8 of them who were selected within different police commands also enjoy scholarship for a child of theirs, and 2 out of 5 from among units of across the FCT also enjoy same.
I don't expect seeing something like this, but it just came. So I'm very, very happy.
And I also want my fellow Nigerian police, those on the road, to know that whatever we are doing on the road that people are watching, we should put more effort.
For the man driving this initiative, Israeli Belema, security is everyone's business.
If you want Nigeria to have more good schools, start from your community, let's contribute. If you want Nigeria to have good and safe environment, encourage the security personnel around you, whether get man, anywhere. Let's think of how you should build a Nigeria of our dream.
When you work really hard, you get to reap great benefits of your efforts. Sergeant Sambo Aldo is one of the recognized officers, and after the honor done him, he is back to his duty post, doing what he knows how to do best. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiabo, NTA News.
You can see for yourself that hard work gets its reward. And still on the matter, they say there should be room for reward when there is more hard work. It is against this backdrop that the Nigerian Army recognized and honored 5 soldiers, a civil joint task force personnel, and a hunter for their act of gallantry. In this special report, defense correspondent Ismail Musa explains why Gwoza town was selected as the venue for the historic event.
Hassan Umar of Gwoza specializes in making school furniture. The artisan once fled his hometown at the peak of insurgency. The return of stability in parts of Gwoza, a town once ravaged by the Boko Haram terrorists, gave him the opportunity to return, resettle, and resume work. The celebrated victory, Umar says, is not without a price. Battles have been fought and won by the military, and to also reaffirm that the Nigerian government is in control of all territories. The Nigerian Army is hosting its 2019 medal parade and Wasa.
The celebration of this Wasa is also a time to extol our efforts at ensuring that our country is rid of unwanted elements which has kept this part of our country in rampage, destruction, killings, and untold hardship.
The award of this medal, no doubt, is in recognition of your commitment and display of professional competence and gallantry. This is evident in your ability to grapple with the complex operation environment and inherent threats to achieve success in various missions assigned in the theater of operation.
And up next is Sports Update.